It should be live streaming now.
Hold on, I want to make sure that feedback thing is not there. Okay, we should be on there. Okay.
We're at 6:01, but we're waiting to get live streamed. And looks like we got it now. So
Good.
we're good to go.
You're on.
Okay.
Dan or whoever.
Was Dan wanting to run the meeting or should I?
Why don't we have Dan run the meeting because he's here in person, okay?
Perfect.
All right. We'll call the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Butte Falls School District 91 to order at 6:02. The first order of business, 1.1, member oath of office to Bonnie Freeman.
So the procedure would be that the board chair representative would stand up and the new board to be added to the board would stand up and the board chair will read portions of the oath of office. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after him.
Okay. I, Bonnie Freeman,
I, Bonnie Freeman,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof,
and the policies of the Butte Falls School District number 91.
and the policies of the Butte Falls School District number 91.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities of the office of the school board member
discharge the responsibilities of the office of the school board member
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations
Thank you.
and welcome to the school board.
Woo-hoo.
You now have standing and hold one of the 5 seats with the Butte Falls School Board. And have the rights of all board members.
Thank you.
All right, roll call.
Mark Carlton,
Bonnie Freeman,
Dan Murphy. By Zoom.
If this beeps,
It looks like Katie, oh, here she comes back.
I'll get her back on. It beeps.
Okay.
Katie, are you there?
We lost her.
I am. I got disconnected for a second.
Okay, we just took roll. We're checking to sure you see you're there. And then Aaron, are you there?
It's on there.
He was until she came back.
His name's on there.
Oh, I see.
Okay. he's
I don't
present.
see Aaron. Oh, no, he is here.
Yeah, he's here. We just can't hear him right now. You have 5 board members present at the meeting.
Okay. All right, let us stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
To the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation
name stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
Agenda review and approval. Dr. Long, do we have any additions to it?
To my knowledge, we have no additions to this agenda. You can approve it as is.
All right. I hear a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Hear a
I
second.
second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 20, consent agenda. Correction, approval of regular meeting minutes for November 14th, 2022.
Are there any comments on the proposed minutes for the last meeting?
It looks good to me, Dr. Long.
I had none.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Under 3.0, communication reports. 3.1, audit presentation So this will be up to Rachel or the auditor that was earlier.
You know what? Maybe Rachel can do the introductions here and then we'll hear from Kelsey.
Sure. Kelsey is our auditor for Neuter Davidson, and it looks like she's online tonight. I have to apologize that I hope maybe Julie got you guys a hard copy. Oh, good. We got the digital copy in time, but getting a hard copy due to variances of me not getting there and me being delayed and getting some information to Kelsey, we had to do it this way. So I will let Kelsey take over and give her report.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So like Rachel said, I'm Kelsey. I work at Neuter Davidson and I was the municipal auditor on your guys' report this year. So I guess I will just go through the audit quickly. So on page 1, we have the independent auditors report. So this is basically our explanation of what we did when we were engaged on the audit and what we came up with after we finished the audit. So in our opinion, the financial statements were presented fairly and in all material respects, the respective modified cash basis financial position of the governmental activities of Jackson County School number 91 are in conformity with the modified cash basis of accounting. So you guys, the unmodified opinion is the best you can do. So you guys did a good job this year. Our basis for our opinion is we do our audits in accordance with generally accepted principles of the United States of America. And one of the big emphasis is that you guys are reporting on a cash basis. So we like to put that in the report. Then if you go to page 3, that's the management's discussion and analysis. This is kind of just the financial highlights that management presents so that you can see what the changes from the previous year to the current year are. I'm not going to go through this because I'm going to actually go through the report, but it's good to read over that and just kind of see what's changed from the previous year to the current year and any type of situations that are different from before management addresses. So if you go to page 8, that's the start of the financial statements. Butte Falls has total assets of $1,775,145. That's all cash. So if you go to the next page on page 9, we have the statement of activities. And it shows that in the first column, we have this disbursements column. So we had $5.6 million in disbursements. And then you see that there's 2 other columns that shows the revenue that was used for those disbursements. And then on the last column, you see what was left over from the revenue that was provided for those disbursements. And we come up with 2.8 million. So that's expenses left over before the general fund revenues. So you guys had 3.7 if you go down to the bottom in general receipts. So you have $948,495 more in revenue than expenses for the year, which is good. You guys have a healthy ending fund balance of $1,775,145. So if you go to the next page on page 10, we have our balance sheet and it shows just the by fund what your balance sheet looks like. So we have the general fund, the special revenue fund, and the capital projects fund, and then there's the total governmental funds. It's just the split of where the cash is and if there's any due to, due froms, and then your fund balance. And then
Just
on page
a note, Kelsey, the due to froms are from expenditures that we do from like June 15th to June 30th, that the revenue doesn't make it into our account by June 30th. So the general fund has to loan the money to those grants until those grants show up after 7/1. Just for those of you that don't know what those due to, due froms are.
Yes, yeah, it's a good explanation. So then the next page is the statement of receipts, disbursements, and changes in the fund balance. That just shows the revenue and expenses across all the funds. So you can see, we like to pay attention to the general fund balance. So the general fund's fund balance is $1,064,324. And we like to compare that to the total expenses. So if you look, the total expenses for the year for the general fund was $3,361,000. So the fund balance is 35.4% of total expenses for the year. We like to see that at least the fund balance has about 25%. That's a good fund balance to be able to cover for all the expenses for the year. So you guys are above average, so that's good. And then after that, we just have the breakdown of the unemployment fund. That's an internal service fund now. So we have to separately report that. So on pages 12 and 13, that just shows you what happened in that fund. Also 14 as well. Then we go on to the notes of the financial statements. I don't usually go through this. It does, I mean, it changes from year to year, not very much. So if you want to just go through that, it just gives explanation of any of the like cash, and then your fixed assets, interfund transactions, just gives you a little bit more of an explanation. And then on page 30, after the notes, we have the breakdown of the general fund based on the budget to see the differences. I mean, everything was within budget. And then there's just a split out for your special revenue funds as well, and your capital projects, if you want to see the breakdown of the final budget to the actuals. And then pages 36, 37, or 36 to 40 are just the breakdown of the expenses and where they were allocated. That's kind of more of like an informational thing for the state. And then on page 42, so we have to do Oregon minimum standards to make sure that the school is in compliance financially with the state. So there's a couple extra things that we have to do. We have to make sure that the deposits within the public funds fall within the correct range. Also, like if they're covered by insurance. We have to check to see that the ADM is being correctly recorded. We have to look at the state school funding and make sure that calculation makes sense to us based on what we can see during our audit. So we didn't find any issues. So that report is just stating that everything was within what we thought it would be, and there was nothing found through our audit. And then the last page is just supplemental information that's required by the state. So that's about it. Yeah, you guys did a great job. Rachel's always done a really great job. She's awesome to work with. We have no issues. You guys are doing a great job. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Kelsey, this is Mark. I have a question. I'm usually curious in the total dollars spent for the year. And I think I found it on page 11. At 6.5 million. Does that sound right?
So 6.5 is your total revenue that you received.
Okay.
And then the total disbursements is 5.6 on that second part. Yeah.
So that's 6.5. That includes all our grants.
Yes, all your federal and state revenues.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our total income was 6.5. And our total expenses was 5.6. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys got me now?
Yes, Aaron, we can hear you.
Okay, I logged out, got back on, so something must have changed.
I just want to thank Kelsey. She was very kind during my since I've been training, I've been running behind, and she's been very patient with me getting answers to her. So I appreciate all the work that Nooner Davidson puts in and answers questions and does an awesome job for us. So Thank
Oh,
you,
no
Kelsey.
problem. Yeah, it's no problem. I had COVID too, so we were all going through it. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
If any of you have any questions after you've had the opportunity to review it and look at it, just shoot me an email and I'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Okay. On to 3.2. Mr. DiCarlo, he is not here.
Mr. DiCarlo's not here, and he said not a lot has changed from what he shared a month ago, the last meeting. So he asked if he could be excused, and he'll be back in January.
Right. 3.3 Superintendent's Report Updates, Dr. Long.
Well, there are a couple things I want to share with you. First of all, we had a successful round of parent, student, teacher conferences right before the Thanksgiving break. Those were held, most of them were held in person, which was nice because it gives us a chance to have the parents and the teacher and the student in the same room. And particularly with the older students, they have an opportunity to explain certain things about how they're doing and why they're doing and what's going well and what they need help with. And I very much enjoyed sitting in. I think in the newsletter, I included a couple pictures of some families that came. In some cases, it would be mom, dad, and all the kids and the student. So just we kind of roll like a family affair around here, but it was well attended and well appreciated. And the parents also were invited to take a parent survey. We're still trying to get a few more responses to that to get feedback as we do long range planning. But I want to let you know that that was a high point, I think, between our previous meeting and now. We had Thanksgiving break. When we came back, we started that Monday with a 2-hour delay because of bad weather. And fortunately, we were able to get our students to school safely and all that. And that was the only delayed start we've needed to do. I do not anticipate, based on the weather report, that we have to worry about that until next year. That is 2023, because we have 3 more school days and it looks like it's supposed to be maybe cold, but clear. I also just wanted, you have an item down under new business. You're going to pass a couple of resolutions, but I just wanted to hold up this picture. This is Ruby Edwards and Cecil Bailey. For the second year, they appeared in my office with 2 checks for our school. They have chosen to make investments in kids as they think about how they want their resources expended. And they gifted the school with a check for $23,500, and they gifted the Natural Resource Center with the same amount. The general conditions of that funding is that it be used to support students doing something. And so it can be used directly for materials for projects students are doing, or for encouraging incentives. In some cases, we've been able to purchase shirts for events and things where we have kids working like on Earth Day or cleaning up something. And so I really do appreciate it. And they were so happy I was like, no, we want to come tomorrow. And so I got a picture of them outside the school, and this will be in our next newsletter, but I just wanted to share it with you. Dear people whose commitment to our district has gone back for decades. They used to invite students down to their homestead or their ranch and did a lot of things. They love the fact that our focus is on natural resources because that's where they're kind of all about, what they're about. And I just am delighted to share the picture, but also the spirit of their gifts. So when we get down to new business, there's a couple resolutions we'll need you to pass so that we can actually accept and allocate those funds and account for them. The other big news, I think, is the fact that the COVID-19 RSV, which is an infection or a virus that affects particularly young children, and a pretty nasty version of the flu, all sort of came together. And like other communities, we've watched the numbers go up. Last week, we started with about a 10% absenteeism. And by Thursday morning, it was 25. And by Thursday afternoon, it was 33. And we thought everyone go away for 3 days. Let's sort this out. And today we were at 40% absenteeism. Fortunately, at this point, while it's hit a few of our staff members or their families that they need to take care of, we've been able to staff all of our programs. And we're taking it day by day. I did in your information tonight, you have a copy of a letter that I just sent out to parents I think it's called Score Flu 1, Logger 0. Game's not over yet, but basically sharing with parents what's going on right now. And a letter from Jackson County Health Department reminding people of things that you should do. If your parents, please do not send your kids to school if they have certain symptoms. I think for me, one of the distressing things, particularly about this version of the flu, is that we have students coming back and they've been running temperatures 103, 104, 105, which is pretty serious stuff. So we just are encouraging parents to monitor that. And if they need help, we do have some extra COVID tests because COVID also is on the upswing. And we have some tests that are going to expire out in another month or so. And we just assume people use those if they want them. So they just need to contact our school office and elementary or secondary, and we can get them the tests. Other than that, we had great plans for a winter holiday concert fun time at our elementary campus. And we had to make the decision today to postpone that until January when we think maybe people could get healthier, because we did not think we wanted to bring kids and families together in the elementary gym on Wednesday night to ruin their holiday break with more sickness. So we had our last boys, I believe, the middle school boys basketball game tomorrow, I believe is going to be canceled. That'll be confirmed by the athletic director because that's his job, not mine. But we did recognize the 8th grade boys basketball players, and with a very appropriate recognition. They each got new basketballs that they can practice with, because we're going to try to get some high school sports going next year again, basketball and such. And we've had pretty good attendance. We even had concessions at most of the games. We did it tonight because of the flu, and we didn't think that we should be passing things around. But I do want to special recognition to Billie Jean Myers and our newest board member for coaching and assistant coaching that team. And they're going to return for an encore in January, February with our girls middle school program. So we're looking forward to that. I believe on this particular season, Bonnie was compensated. On the next one, she's a volunteer assistant coach. So appreciate the spirit of that too. You know, it really is about not just people bringing money to the table, but also being willing to give some time. And as the state starts to relax some things, so once we get through this flu season, we are slowly finding ways to welcome volunteers back in our schools. And that's really what makes this a great school. So I know there were a lot of other things. We had dress up days, lots of fun with our kids. At the high school, we had an assembly followed by kids playing games. And things just with the pandemic, kids just kind of like being with each other and doing stuff together. And some of it's stuff that, you know, you might do in your home, and it's not necessarily happening that way. So we're just really glad that the students that we have here are playing together and seem to be playing well, and then also learning too. So I certainly would welcome any questions, but that's the gist of my report. And I believe under the next item, Mrs. Foray might have a few items to share. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Long. 3.4, charter school staffing update, Dr. Long, Mrs. Ferrer.
Do you want to talk about our new 7th grade temporary teacher?
Sure.
It's a great name.
So we found a replacement for our 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Fry, who is resigning at the end, well, Thursday will be her last day. We had an applicant, we interviewed him, and then I was able to luckily have him come the last few weeks and do some subbing, fill in, meet all the students. And I think he's going to be a great fit. His name is Bruce Ironheart. His background is high school, middle school. So he's definitely understands middle school students. English, I think, was his main, what he taught. He has actually a pretty cool background. He lived in Japan for a while. He speaks Japanese. I believe he also speaks Spanish. He's lived in a couple different states. He grew up in Medford, went to Medford schools and left and has come back. I've gotten to talk to him a lot and work with him the last couple of weeks as he's been helping and subbing. I think this is going to be a really good fit till the end of the year. He's got some great new ideas and things for students, and I think he'll be a good addition to our team for 7th grade. We also are hiring another educational assistant. That's in the works. I'm assuming it'll probably won't start till January because of all that stuff. She's got to go through all the background and all of that. She is a parent who has decided to apply. She has 2 students at our school. She is going to be absolutely a great addition. Her name is Jamie. Can't remember her last name off the top of my head. But she has a kindergartner and a 2nd grader. She is amazing, great. She's going to be a great addition and help with everything that we need. And I think that those are the 2 that we've got so far that will be moving forward to hire at the elementary school.
We added a custodian about 2 months ago, Keith Tilley, and I just want to let you know, he has been really service oriented.
He's amazing.
He is an amazing guy. He works really hard. We'd like him to work 90 hours a week. I can't actually do that, so I'm having to sort of create some boundaries around and protect him a little bit. But a really good spirit, and he lives here in town and he can walk to work. And he's the person who now can get the calls when we get all set up when an alarm goes off and I don't have the sheriff's department calling me far away to look at the cameras to figure out what's going on. But
Yeah, he's great.
he
He's
has a lot of skills beyond the custodial, and a small portion of his position actually would allow him to do some other maintenance things too. So we'll be looking in January, February to move ahead with completing the description for a facilities maintenance supervisor and hiring to that position. But just glad to have a town guy taking care of our elementary campus. You will, and under personnel under 6.1, that's when we'll be asking you to take action to approve the hiring of Bruce Ironheart as a temporary 7th grade teacher. His commitment to us is for this year. He moved back to the area for some family reasons, and he's looking at some other options. So we'll talk about what we're gonna do next year in the spring when we see where things are at. So.
Thank you. 3.5, review of payment of the bills.
I think this is the time where if you have any questions about report regarding expenditures during the last month. I know that Dan was kind enough to provide a handwritten note to Rachel of some items that she can speak to once we've answered the other questions. And so does anyone have any questions about any items, or you want to go to Dan's?
I don't have any questions about the bills today.
Okay.
Mark,
Yeah, the Douglas ESD. On page 1, the bottom, I believe it's 17,500.
Right.
If I remember right, we had about that same amount last month, unless I'm mistaken.
It's on a quarterly basis, Mark, so you might have seen it earlier in the year.
Okay.
Because that would be the 2nd quarter payments, and that's your contract that you have for our services to do business management for you.
So that's quarterly.
Yes.
Okay.
And the one that's on the top of the next page, that's your HR contract.
Okay.
And it's also quarterly.
That was the only one that caught my attention.
Katie,
And Katie said she's okay. Aaron, do you have any questions?
Nope, just that I have so much trust in Rachel that I never have very many questions, but if there's somebody new coming in, we're gonna stick Dan on it.
So speaking of that, Josh was going to be here tonight. They had a family matter happen over Thanksgiving that they are finishing up taking care of today. He actually was going to get online tonight, and I told him no. So I didn't feel like this warranted over what his family was going through right now. So he is excited to meet everybody. He is doing, from what I have him doing right now. He is doing a fabulous job. Aaron, I will remind you that you guys are my children, so I'm not just gonna leave you to some wayward person that's gonna just mess up all the hard work I've done over the last 5 years. So don't you worry.
Right, right.
I would also add to that, Rachel and I have had a couple phone consultations on budget matters, and Joss has been able to eavesdrop on that and probably chuckle a little bit too.
He's excited. He's asking all the right questions. He's doing a fabulous job. I'm super excited to see what his future holds for him going forward. So I'm excited. So you'll see him next month. Hopefully everyone will be well and we will be in person, and we can I'll bring him around and introduce him to everybody. So the items that excuse me, that Dan had given me earlier. The first one was on page 2 for family zone. That is for the SIPA filter and the firewall. It's a 2-year contract that we have for filtering bad internet from coming on through our computers.
Was that from elementary to high school then?
It's for everybody. Yep, it's district wide.
Okay.
The next one was also on page 2. 2 down from family zone was one for Susie Ford. She attended a training on student data privacy. That was her meals and mileages to Hillsborough, outside the Portland area. So she attended a training in late October, I believe.
Susie also, aside from being the office manager at the high school, serves as the registrar for the secondary school too. That's all the transcripting stuff. And we've been trying to build capacity in her and Brittany around those confidentiality things that we need for records management.
Good. Because I noticed they were rather high for travel expenditures.
Yeah, I think there was 1 or 2 overnights there and the cost of the conference.
It was the mileage, yeah, from Butte Falls to Hillsborough is quite a ways. The next one was to Emily Gotel. I hope I say it right.
Yeah,
Gettle. That hers was for sports mileage. She's transporting students for football. That was a couple of different trips that she had included end of October, first part of November, that's being paid for. The next one is on page 3. It was for Mark's Plumbing Parts. It was for 2 elementary faucets, and I believe based on the description, it was 2 drinking fountains. Am I correct? It was called a bubbler, so I'm assuming that was a drinking fountain.
Yeah, and we're finding at the elementary, in fact, over the Christmas holidays, we're going to be switching out some faucets that we've been having some faucets finally fail after all the years that we've had them over there, and it leads to water continuously running. So we're going to have to shut the water down on the whole building, and Jeff and Keith are going to be replacing those. But it's some of the stuff we're dealing with is just odd fitting pipe stuff too. So that has nothing to do with Mark Carlton's plumbing. It has to do with the elementary school.
The next one is on page 4 for US Bank. There was a refund of $109. That was a refund of a fraud charge. One of our credit cards someone got a hold of it in Texas, and they thought they would go to Dave & Buster's and have a good old time. So that was a refund of a fraud charge.
Okay.
The next one, it's second from the bottom. It's for the $1,976.85. That one's for a couple of different things. It's two of the larger items are the fire trailer parts.
Yes.
And there was a wash machine that was purchased that's at the district office.
And I'll give you a little more information. The fire trailer parts, we were donated, gifted by, I believe, the city of Butte Falls, our old fire trailer, which you can pull around and it can pump water. And it wasn't functioning. We have a student made that his senior project, and we need to put new tires on it and a few things like that. He's also fundraising for parts of rehabbing that. And when he's completed, we'll have a fire trailer that we could use and have down there on that site. So that's a learning investment too, but it is a capital investment for us because we end up with a valuable piece of equipment. And then the washing machine is actually here at the district office. It's where we wash all the rags and mops and things that we use, the custodians use, and the towels when we're using towels during certain sports.
And the last one I have is on page 7 for KM Kruger. It was the repair of the cafeteria ice machine. So that's all I have for questions. I would have just a brief, I'm happy to report that your revenue is about 15% over your expenditures. So that's good. We want to keep that target happening. We are anticipating, I'm hoping that we might have some information by February on the upcoming budget. The governor's budget, I believe, is supposed to come out the first part of February. I will be attending a budget symposium that is going to help us be able to calculate based on whatever that governor's budget comes in at. We should be able to calculate what our current service levels are and be able to hopefully prepare for the 23-24 budget season. After the new year, I will start making meetings with administration to go over what the wants and the needs are for the coming year. Josh will be a part of that. Again, he apologized for not coming, but my fierceness wouldn't let him show up. So he will be on, or will be there next month. That's pretty much all I have. We're holding steady, and I'm just anxiously anticipating the governor's budget to see what we can do going forward next year.
Rachel, could I just have a little dialogue with you about a couple things in the budget?
You sure can.
Because one of the concerns I have is that people might perceive that we're just chunking money away. The reality is that we've not filled a couple positions, particularly our facilities manager position, and we're just paying someone hourly part-time to help with that at this time. Additionally, as I'm recalling, we use some federal ESSER funds to fund several positions that would have been cut because of our reduction in enrollment. But as we grow back, I think we do actually have those in the budget. Or we will have those obligations next year. So, and then the third part is we are now starting to pay the bills on all the district funded work that the board approved last spring, and those expenditures didn't occur in the last fiscal year. So the money that we had for an ending fund balance reflects some funds that we've already obligated, about $500 million for those, and you're paying those now. And I think the goal is to try to pay much of that out as the work is almost done within the next month or two. The seismic project, we're looking at all those funds being spent out by December 31st. So that big rat of money that's going through the snake is going to disappear, and you'll see our total revenue drop down and reflect more our operational costs in another year or so. It'll take another year for this fiscal year. It'll still show parts of that, but we get reimbursed from the state for those expenditures that we pay out as we go. So we're going to see some more revenue come in, and you're going to see expenditures go out for the seismic work. But the district funded work, that's money that we had in our cupboard, one-time money that we've invested, and when we pay the bills, it will take that ending fund balance down.
Yeah, you're correct. The one of the biggest, hardest hits that you'll take to that current ending fund balance that Kelsey just reported on are the 3 positions that we currently have coded to ESSER. In order to balance our budget last year, we had to code them to that federal money, or we would have had to cut them last year because we took such a hit at the beginning of the year losing as many students as we did. That was the only way that we could have balanced the budget. So we will turn around and have to put those people back into general fund, because that ESSER funding is going to, they're calling it the ESSER cliff. The ESSER cliff will hit at the end of next year. And I can already tell you the expenditures that we have for that ESSER funding is quickly dwindling, and ours won't last till June of 2024.
Yeah.
And you'll see all that as we start to have conversations around the budget about bringing those positions back. Not funding some of the positions that we had budgeted for last year, possibly keeping some of those positions in the budget, one of them being the maintenance supervisor. I know that that's one that we want to keep in there. So there are, I feel like the positions are a constant revolving door. Yeah, we'd like to have these things, but in reality, can we have these things?
And then the other comment you made about the governor's budget, that's the budget that the new governor, who we have no experience with, will be proposing a budget, and K-12 education is a big chunk of the state budget. The legislature then will work either to support that or to make it bigger or to make it smaller. And we probably generally don't have an actual real number until May, sometimes June, but we will have a number that we will build our budget off, and it usually tries to be our best prediction of what that would be.
Yeah, and from what I've seen and what I've heard so far, our, not just necessarily us as a district, but the state, the current service level is like 10.5 billion, and they're saying that the state school, or that the governor's budget isn't going to increase much more, if at all, than what it currently is at 9.3. So statewide, the current service level is upwards of 10.5. And so we're pretty short. I mean, you're short over quite a bit of money in order for us to be able to hit the current service levels across the state.
So that's essentially for K-12 education, or for education, $1.2 billion gap over 2 years that we're starting out at.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So like $600 million in each biennium plus
Yeah.
or minus. So,
Yeah.
so that's the numbers we'll want to be listening for in the spring when we listen to the news and what they're talking about, because a $9.3 billion funding level would mean that we probably would have to make some cuts. And much of our money is in people, and we've so we will have a contract open with our classified employees in the spring, and we're going to have to make some hard decisions if we want to try to retain people too. As you know, classified people make the difference for our kids. Once we got a teacher in the room, and I need that support staff there. So just wanted to give you that context as we go into February, March, and are building a budget and start the collective bargaining process.
Yeah, and as I start to hear things, I'll make sure that you guys are informed of that. Either between Josh or myself, we'll make sure that you guys are informed of kind of what we're hearing down the pike, and just listening for any sort of information of what that might look like for us as a district.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions or concerns?
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome. Thanks, Katie.
Do you have any further comments, Rachel, on 3.6, the financial summary?
No, she's muted.
I believe she's
I think that was
completed
it.
her reporting.
Okay.
Sorry if I didn't tell you that. I was starting to cough, so I muted myself really quick.
You have completed your financials and that, Rachel? All right. 3.7 SESSA Site Council Parent Involvement Report. Mrs. Freeman.
Yes, sir. So tomorrow we're having a meeting with the parent involvement and the site council. We're just going to start taking care of some business we need to take care of. We're going to do it Zoom so that we don't cough on each other. But then I'm going to throw this in. This has not really here, but I'm gonna tell you about it anyways. So a new job I have is I've been assigned the jurisdictional contact for our district. And for you board members, this is a big thing. So there's a piece of paper on your table, and Aaron and Katie, I think I sent them both to you. But this is from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, and this is something that I have to get you into the system. You will have to put information in. The deadline for me to get your information in is February 15th. You all have to, between March 15th and April 15th, to get the information in. This is a law. And the training I took, they said that they could be imposing fines on you if this was not completed. So on this flyer, there is some links that can take you to a place that can answer some questions on what they're going to be asking and some training on it. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that one. And
Julie, can I stop you for a second?
yes,
This has already been a requirement of superintendents. So I've been doing this for since I've been here. And it's not onerous, but what it is going to ask is it's looking for conflicts of interest and all that. So in many instances, your answer is no, so you move on. But if you look over those documents and you have some concerns about it, please talk to me, because I've messed this form up before, and just by making an error, they've helped me fix it. They're not out to get you, but yeah, there are fines if you aren't accurate in it. So just want to make sure that everyone's safe. Okay.
Is there other employees of the district that have to do this as well?
No, it's superintendents, and now you're the board of directors, so you're like the corporations board, right? So and they went back and forth on this, but in the last legislature, they passed the law that says you have to do this. And it used to even say that your family members did. I mean, that was where it was before when it got pulled back. But it is specific to you, and then there's a couple items about you and your relationship to family members and our entity, Butte Falls School District. So
is this something that will potentially vet out any conflicts of interest?
Yes.
That's the intent of
it
it.
is, and it's really a sort of a self audit, and you get through it, and if you find something, you declare it, and then you can fix it, right? But it's a way to make sure that board members are not using their position for ways other than they were elected to do. Yeah, sure.
I'm even required to fill it out on behalf of Butte Falls also.
Right.
okay, and I'll be here to help anybody if they need anything. And then on a second note, as board members, you are mandatory reporters. And we have an online training that I've signed you all up for, except for Bonnie, and I'll get you taken care of. That will help guide you and teach you about what being a mandatory reporter is. So I encourage you to take that training. I will send out all your login and passwords tomorrow. I'm putting that on my note right now to remind you how to get in there. And Bonnie, I'll get you all set up.
If you have any questions,
Julie?
you can ask Julie or me.
Yes. Yes, Katie.
Julie, I didn't get any information for this, so just make sure I get it. I'll make sure to take care of it.
Okay,
It's not in my packet.
okay. It's on my to-do list tomorrow, so everybody should get something tomorrow. It was sent out way in or late August, so you might have just missed it. And that's all I have.
It's possible. I have something for the parent involvement.
Okay.
Okay, so we're having our meeting tomorrow at 5. Anyone wants to join us via Zoom, of course, because there's a lot of sick kids. That's why I'm not with you guys tonight. All 3 of my kids have a temperature and a cough. But a couple things going on with parent involvement is we helped fund and participate in getting concessions going at the high school for the home games. And we're still looking for 8th grade parents or any parents really to help us run concessions during home games for the spring. We're hoping to do a talent show in the spring. I'm kind of hoping May. I have to check with Miss Frey a little more on that. And then we took a little bit of money that we were sitting on for our carnivals and split that between getting the concessions going and donated the other part to the elementary school to help the teachers buy supplies. And that's it for the parent involvement update.
Katie, quick question for you. If I am a parent in the studio, in the audience, not in the studio here, but in the audience watching online, if I wanted to join that meeting tomorrow, how would I learn how to connect with that Zoom meeting? Is that an email to Mrs. Freeman or an email to you or what?
Either one would work. I would actually just probably call Julie at the district office. Julie, does that work?
Yeah, that works fine.
And that number
Or
is
they could,
541-865-3563.
extension 5, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And please come if you can, because we're going to talk about funding and parent involvement.
Any further comments? All right. 3.8, Butte Falls Community School Partnership, Mr. Murphy. The bulletin was recently mailed to the people, and that pretty well tells you the events that are happening. So that's your main source of information. Thank you. 3.9, public comment. We have no public in the audience. Is there any on the Zoom that wish to make comments?
We didn't have anyone sign up to make comments.
Okay. Continuing on to 4.0, old business. 4.1, resolution 2301, OSBA legislative priorities and principles, action, Dr. Long.
So last month, this came to you all and you made a decision around a regional representative. That was one of the decisions you made. On that agenda was the second piece around a resolution to adopt the Oregon School Board Association's legislative priorities and principles as recommended by the OSBA Legislative Policy Committee. And several of you said, I'd like to think on that a little more. And so you had the information then, we've included in the packet. Basically, OSBA represents as an organization school boards. And you have representation on their board, and then they come around and they survey what boards are, what's important to board members, and they come up with a real initial, actually it's a lobbying position on various issues. And so they have an information sheet on here, which is around called legislative priorities and principles. There's a preamble in there. And then there's a list of the priorities, and the priorities that they have listed were to promote adequate, predictable, and stable funding for schools, to protect the 2019 Student Success Act, which is an additional funding stream that we have actually used for some of our programs, to close the opportunity gap for students, to contain cost drivers, healthcare, retirement benefits, things like that, to support local governance and oppose mandates, to support capital improvements. We're a district where we can't bond to be able to do additional projects. And so the OSBA has advocated for other ways that funding can come, particularly to rural school districts, to ensure access to post-secondary credits for our students. And that an example of that is they were supportive of the Oregon Promise approach, which does allow our students to go to RCC and get much of their tuition paid. So they would continue on with their education, and then address education workforce shortages. As you know, there's a shortage of teachers and administrators and support staff, and it's emerged in the last couple of years. And that is an area we can't run schools if we always have people running around just trying to cover the gaps. In the area of finance, to make sure that funding that comes from the state is equitable and fully supports students' instructional and programmatic needs. And I think that they couple in alignment with supporting local governance. Other student programs, student safety and wellness, some healthy personnel practices, governance and operations for how boards and districts do business, and then some federal education issues. So they do actually have a recommended, if I can find it, resolution that you all have. And it's a bunch of whereases. So having gone over what that's about, it's really your opportunity maybe to make a motion in a second and then have a discussion whether you want to move ahead or amend anything or what you want to do.
I think we actually just all wanted a chance to actually read over this. I'm fine with it. So I will make a motion to approve resolution 23-01.
You have a second?
One second.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and could we reaffirm your decision last month for a representative to the OSBA board? You already made the decision, but I can only report the decision being made in one meeting. So if you reaffirm your decision last month, then I will report these both tonight or tomorrow on the website. And that's simply a motion to reaffirm that decision. And a second.
So we nominated Sherry Strittenberg for our representative, correct?
I believe
I
so.
believe so.
Yes.
So I nominate Sherry Strittenberg to be our representative.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those
Okay.
opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, on to 5.0, new business.
Yeah.
5.1.
Under new business, actually 5.1 and 5.2 are the two separate resolutions. No, excuse me. 5.1 relates to another grant that we received from Lines of Life, a school suicide prevention initiative. And essentially they have awarded us a grant for $4,000 to be applied to towards building two conference rooms, which would allow us to provide private, I want to say confidential counseling to students at our elementary campus. We have a room over there in an area where we can build these two offices, and that allows us to offset some of the expense. And what I need is a resolution, and I believe it's in your packet, stating where those funds would be accepted and allocated. And I'm looking for that resolution.
It says,
No, it's resolution 2302, correct? So
does-
my question is about this resolution. I like the idea of having the counseling rooms, and I love the idea of okay, so life suicide prevention. So they're basically going to allow us to use these rooms just for counseling for students, correct?
They're much broader than just the suicide prevention piece. That is one of the concerns, one of the initiatives they have. But they are trying to provide support to school districts that are looking to get mental health supports for students easily accessible. And the challenge we have at our elementary school is that we actually have some students whose parents would like them to participate in counseling, but we don't have confidential spaces for them to do that. We've been using the principal's office the last couple of years, which Butte's the principal out there. And we're getting more resources. We actually have we have the resources of the clinic here, and allows the counselor there to come over to our campus rather than having elementary kids come over here during the day for counseling. And it's a whole safety issue there. So, and then it would be used for other things too, meeting with parents when we have small confidential conversations we need to have with parents, or if we have a student who's in distress and just needs to sit in a room quiet and not have everyone stare at them, you know. So the function of the space is much broader than what the title of that. I just was given that source as a resource where I could access some grant funds, and that would help us pay for some of the costs of building this. So we're looking to allocate it per this resolution, and need a motion in a second. And if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I'll make the motion to
To approve resolution 23.
approve resolution 2302. Thank you.
I second that.
Maybe motion's been made and seconded.
I got
All
it.
those in favor?
Well, I do have a question,
Sure.
just to clarify. So we're not, the use of the building or room is not restricted to only.
No, and the grant is for us to build the rooms.
Okay,
Actually, they see that there's value in lots of ways for mental health support.
okay.
Thank you. So did we vote on that, or did we just have a, okay?
All right, we're done.
Yep.
Any more questions?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. 5.2, resolution 2303, Ruby Edwards donation, Butte Charter School.
This is the donation by Ruby Edwards and Cecil Bailey. Purpose of this resolution is to accept the funds and to allocate the resources per the requirements here. Rachel has set out where those funds should land. I'm seeking a motion and a second to approve resolution 2303.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2303.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And that
Aye.
that particular set of funds are going to be used for general student enrichment. The next resolution 304 is specific for student enrichment at the Natural Resource Center. I'm looking for a motion and a second for resolution 2304.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2304.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And carried. Now we come to 6.0, personnel, 6.1. Hire temporary seventh grade teacher, action, Dr. Long.
I'm looking for a motion from the board and a second to hire Bruce Ironheart as a temporary seventh grade teacher effective January 3rd, 2023 through the end of the school year.
Make the motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then
6.2.
under 6.2, this actually doesn't require board action. What we wanted to make sure is that you understood that we were able to secure yet another educational assistant. It's a classified position, not a licensed position. So under our contract and agreements, I can hire that person directly, but I have told the board I will always make you aware when we're hiring people, so you know what's going on. And that's Jamie, and I apologize to.
W.
I had a W. Yeah. Wonderful person, and looking forward to working with her. So does not require action, but it does require me sharing that information with you. And I will have her last name in January.
I apologize.
That's awesome.
We have comments and future agenda items from the board, 7.0. Mark, comments.
I have no comments, except thanks for joining, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Aaron, comments?
I just think it's extra special that Ruby and Cecil continue to donate such large amounts of money to our school.
I agree.
Katie?
I have a question. In our last board meeting, Evan Goettel, I'm gonna say it wrong, of course, asked
Goettel.
about us opening our campus on evenings, weekends. I'm not sure what he was thinking of. Where are we on that thought process?
I think what he was asking about, can the gates be unlocked on weekends and evenings? And currently our high school campus is secured. And part of that, the concern in that has been without a lot of supervision, there have been some activities that have occurred around the community, but I don't see a problem with that happening as the weather gets better. We just don't want it to turn it into a dog park. The elementary campus currently is accessible from the front, as we haven't activated the locks on that yet. But I think the question there is, once we get the mud bowl taken care of out there, will community members be able to come play on the playground equipment? And it is our intent to get there. Right now, we are experiencing high volumes of mud because of the construction, how it tore up the fields. Over Christmas break, we're bringing in several truckloads of mulch to spread over all the muddy areas. I'm not sure, we might even spread a little grass seed to try to get it to grab. Once we can get some turf going back in there and not so muddy, then I think people coming and playing on the playgrounds won't be a problem. But that was what his question was. And those basketball courts, there really aren't a lot of other places to shoot baskets even. And I think it kind of relates to some of the COVID restrictions that are now relaxing. They don't need to apply outside the school day. So that's where we are, Katie. We haven't done it yet. I mean, you can get into the elementary campus anyway. But we just, that's a conversation to have with our community as we let people come on. How are we gonna take care of it? Make sure that if they see someone abusing things or whatever, we just know.
So I'm hearing that we're not quite there yet where we really want to do.
Well, and right now it's honestly at the elementary because of the mud.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have one more question, and I'm sure you shared this with me before, but I was reading through the Student Success Act, and you were talking about ODE's Community Engagement Toolkit.
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen that before. Is that something you could send to me?
Yeah, I think it's accessible on the website, and it kind of dovetails with the work that we're doing with the integrated. ODE now is having us integrate a number of grant applications and the parent engagement, community engagement, student engagement stuff that we are doing and we need to tighten up. That toolkit is a resource to help with that. So I'd be glad to get you the link.
Okay, and that's just on the ODE website.
I think it is somewhere, but yeah, it's been a while since.
Okay, and then other than that, my comment is Bonnie, congratulations. I wish I was there with you tonight.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Thank you so much to our staff for getting us through these last 2 weeks in the flu season. And hopefully everything will be better in January.
Yes,
Okay, Bonnie, any comments?
I'm good. Thank you.
I have no comments. No further business, and this meeting will be adjourned at
7:06, I think.
7:07. Maybe it's 7:06.
Motion to adjourn or we just adjourn?
what?
Yeah,
Yes,
actually,
Bonnie, you make a motion.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead and make a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.